So how a wedding day usually goes, and obviously this changes for everyone, but I'm just going to be really general in how a wedding day really goes so that I can explain why a first look is so big to me. So basically what happens is you get ready, which hair and makeup is one of the most important parts of your whole entire wedding day. Like if you're going to give extra time for your photographer and the photos of you two, and then also give extra time for your hair and makeup, because incredibly important. Make sure that you're really communicating with your hair stylist to make sure you're giving enough time when it comes to hair and makeup, because guess what? It's going to be photographed all day long. And I know we've got Jillian coming up in a couple weeks, and I know she'll back me up on that statement. But so you do your hair and makeup in the morning, and then you usually you either have already arrived at the venue or you're arriving at the venue, and then you start getting ready. You start getting your dress on, which, you know, there's a lot of photos that happen during your getting ready photos, and you don't want that time very, you know, overly rushed. You don't want to, you know, get your dress on in 5 minutes and be done. There's a lot of things that happen during that time, and so you get your dress on, and then next, and this is if you're not doing a first look, so I'm just giving the whole take of the day. Next, what you're going to do is do as many, so obviously the guys are going to get ready as well, and then you're going to do as many photos before the wedding as possible, because a lot of the time right now, especially in the Springfield, we have so many amazing, beautiful weddings, so many amazing, beautiful venues, that your wedding and your reception, goodness, I need to slow down, are at the same location. And so you try to get as many photos done as possible. So maybe you and the girls, you and your immediate family, you by yourself, maybe, and obviously a lot of this has to do with your wedding planner, and it has to do with your photographer. So a lot of this part of it, and your videographer. So Austin, I hope you're listening, because I said videographer, and I just want you to know that's awesome, because I used to pronounce that so wrong. Okay, so a lot of it has to do with those three people, and so it's important, and your venue as well. So it's important to really communicate with all of them when it comes to this whole wedding day. But you try to get as many photos done as possible. Then sometimes you're out of the area, and then your fiance is getting as many photos done as possible as well. So by himself, with the guys, or with the girls, however you guys do it, and then with the immediate family. Then you guys get out of the area, because know that when your wedding says it's at 3 o'clock, know that people are going to show up at least 30 minutes before your wedding, if not 45, and sometimes it's an hour. So know that if you don't want anyone to see you, know that you have to take all of that time into consideration. And so you've got to be out of the area. Then what happens next is the ceremony, which is absolutely phenomenal. We love the ceremony. You walk down the aisle, he sees you for the first time. Yes, it can be emotional, but know that when he's standing up on the altar, everyone's looking at him for a very long time. And sometimes when you walk in, their eyes might glance at you, but they are looking at him for the reaction that he's going to have. And so it's really back and forth and back and forth. So then you go through the ceremony. Ceremony might be, usually average ceremonies 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes they're much longer, but you go through the ceremony. Then right after the ceremony, you go into all of the photos. So now with those photos, you've got the family photos, which obviously when everybody dresses up, I know for me, when I get our family dressed up, I want as many photos as possible. Again, that all goes back to your photographer, but so you're going to do family photos. Obviously, you did as many beforehand, but you've still got to set a lot of those up again, because now it's with both of you. And especially if there's step parents or anything like that, list adds up really quickly.
Yes.
So really, really consult your photographer when it comes to that. Then you go into wedding party photos, which obviously you've chose these people because you love them and you want good photos with them. And so obviously you want the good shots, but then you want some fun shots in there too. So you do the wedding photos, wedding party photos, and then the most important part of the day, the most important part is the photos of just you two. I cannot stress that enough. It's important to get all those others, but at the end of the day, it's what the day is about. And again, consult your photographer as far as the time that's going to take, because if you give a photographer 15 minutes to shoot photos of both of you together, they'll probably cry, and I'm not saying they won't do it, but man, and there are some photographers that really and truly have a minimum of how long that they want with the couple. So make sure when you're choosing your photographer, make sure you're taking that in consideration. Sorry, there's someone outside of our door. So then what happens, you go through those photos, then what happens is you get to the reception. So at that point, it's so incredibly exciting because you get announced in, you go in, you sit down, you get to eat, and then you do the dances, and then you do the cake cutting, and everything else that's happening. And so then you get done with all of the big things. You continue to hopefully party for a while, and then the night is over. What I saw from being at as many weddings as we have is that truly, there's not a time for just you two. There's not a time that you guys have to just enjoy each other. It goes from busy to all this craziness at the reception, and then you guys are in a car together, and really it's the biggest time for you guys to just really enjoy each other. So that's a take on a day without a first look. Now I'm going to go into what and why I feel with all my heart so strongly about a first look. So obviously, same thing, you get your hair and makeup done, you get ready, and then right after that, we do a first look. One of my favorite parts of a wedding is a dad look. I cry, I think, almost every time. Mm-hmm. So, but the next part is the first look. And what happens, your photographer can set it up lots of different ways, but basically, you guys either come together or they're turned around and you walk up and then they turn around. There's a lot of different ways you can do a first look. But as soon as, what I love about it is that it's just you two. Very seldom does anyone want anyone around. And I can tell you, for most couples, they are much more emotional when it's just you two. Like, you can be real with each other, because obviously you're getting married, so you've already been real with each other lots of times, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But honestly, you get to have that moment that no one else is there, and the look and the emotion and the feeling is one that literally gives me goosebumps every single time it happens. And I know we've did a lot of first looks together. How do you feel? I know she's had to be really quiet because I have a lot to say.
Well, I mean, just when they get together after that first look and they just get to be, relaxed is one of the biggest things, because a wedding day is so stressful. Mm-hmm. And everybody's on their tiptoes and waiting for, every little thing to happen. It's really just a time that you get to just be with each other and then just take a breather and know that the rest of the day is just going to be go easy and will flow, because you guys are there together. Right. And you're going through that whole day is about you two, so that you guys are both there together for that.
Right. And a lot of people, and I feel like it's mostly guys, even more than girls, feel like, oh my gosh, he's not going to have that feeling when I'm walking down the aisle. But I can tell you, we've seen a lot of weddings, and if they get emotional during the first look, at the ceremony, and you know, I feel like people laugh at this all the time, but he can't run. Like, it is still the simple fact that you're getting married. The minister is there, all the people are there, whether it's in the chapel or outside or wherever you're getting married, and then it is, oh my gosh, here it goes. Here, you know, we're getting married. One thing that I want to step back to as far as the first look, one of the things that I love about it is that when, and I'm just going to do the turnaround part, but when he turns around, literally, he looks you up and down. I mean, eyes are just all over the place. And then a lot of times they'll go to the back of the dress and look to see, I mean, they really get to check out not only this beautiful dress that you've purchased, but also you, your hair, your makeup, everything that you've put to the whole package.
Shoes.
Yes.
You do something like
Yes.
Converses, glittered, bedazzled.
Yes. And the other part of it is, most of the time for most couples, a lot has happened the morning of the wedding. And this is a time that you know, I can't say for all photographers, but they just kind of step back, and then you get to have this really intimate moment with them, but also you get to tell them about everything that's happened throughout the day, because they're usually the one that you want to tell everything to. And so then you get through that first look, and then you go straight to the photos of you guys. The wedding party photos are usually captured before the wedding. As many family photos, and the good thing is you can do immediate family, and you can do you guys together, and then each individual if you're doing any family photos like that. And then you go to the ceremony. But sometimes, depending on how many photos of all of that, sometimes you're together for a couple hours before the ceremony, so you're really walking through the day together and just enjoying the day together, and you've gotten this moment of amazing sweetness. So anyway, you go through the ceremony, and again, we already talked that he'll probably still have those emotions because everybody's looking at him, and so those emotions are usually always there. And then you leave the ceremony, usually after the wedding, and obviously this is so different and I can't like tell you, you have to talk to your wedding planner and your photographer, but after the wedding, you only have so many photos because you've taken majority of them beforehand. So the great part about that is you go through maybe extended family photos or whatever photos that you're wanting afterwards. And obviously if you're doing kissing shots or anything like that, try, sometimes hold that till afterwards. Sometimes it just happens, but you don't have a lot of photos after the ceremony. Therefore, you get to go into the reception so much quicker. And for a couple, you're usually the ones, A, you're hungry because you haven't ate all day. Yes. And then B, you're usually the ones that are like, oh my gosh, my guests are waiting. And so I'm not saying that if you're not doing your first look that waiting is okay, or I am saying that it's okay because obviously these photos are going to be what you have forever. But it really does allow you to have a lot less photos after the ceremony, and then you get to enjoy more of the reception together. And so honestly, where my overall feeling is that I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, nope, we're never going to do that. But that is, I always try to educate everyone on what the day looks like and how big of a difference that it does make. Obviously, we're not trying to change your mind. We're not trying to sway you one way or the other. It's just that you've not planned a wedding before usually, and without knowing how that wedding day sometimes looks like, it's hard to realize how little of time that you actually get to
Spend time
be together.